In mainline Protestantism, women became ordained, which is the official way that you become a reverend. So I'm the Reverend Doctor such and such. Here are some dates which are interesting when you put them together with the dates you mentioned. 1853, Antoinette Brown is a name that rings true for many of us. Antoinette Brown was ordained in the Congregational Church, which then became part of the United Church of Christ, the UCC, 1853. Olympia Brown, 1863, the first Universalist to be ordained. Anna Howard Shaw created a great ruckus. I like her a lot. She was denied ordination in one Methodist denomination, so she shipped over to the other denomination and she was ordained, but dropped out very quickly because it was just so hard for women in that denomination. African Methodist Episcopal Zion, 1894-1900. Although women are involved in ministry, there's lots of gender inequalities. Fewer women rise to the top, for example, of their denomination, either as bishops or regional pastors. There's an inequality in pay. Women and men who finish seminary at the same time and both goes to serve churches. Women's salary goes up like this, men's goes up like this. And that still is the case. I want to say one last word about lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender kind of queering of the United States and Protestantism, particularly in more progressive denominations or places like Bright Divinity School, which is where I teach. We're very active in pursuing justice and ordination for gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender folks. And that is happening in some denominations, United Church of Christ, Unitarian Universalist, somewhat in the Episcopal Church with parameters. We Methodists are still fighting about it, which we do every 4 years, so watch the news in April because we'll fight again. But the issue of how we treat one another around sexual diversity is becoming a larger conversation in most of Christianity's traditions. Thank you very much.
Dr. Maria Curtis is Assistant Professor of Anthropology and Cross-Cultural Studies at the University of Houston Clear Lake. She earned her master's and her PhD in Anthropology from the University of Texas at Austin. She's also studied at the American Language Institute in Morocco, the University of Grenoble in France, as well as Georgetown University and the American Institute for Arabic Studies in Tangier. Among her research interests are women's religious traditions in Islam, Turkish women's interfaith and civic initiatives in the public sphere, and visual anthropology and feminist theory. She has published in an array of academic forums. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really a great pleasure to be here. It's not every day I get to talk about Abrahamic women, so this is a real joy for me. I hope that you enjoy listening to me as much as I hope, as much as I've enjoyed getting ready to be here and preparing this paper. I was trying to think of what to talk about in 15 minutes in terms of the status of Muslim women. And there's really so much to talk about, but I decided to try to focus on two different goals. And first of all, to kind of review what the Quran says about women, just some kind of general remarks for people who might not have that background. And then also focus on some specific contexts where Muslim women live around the world and what they've accomplished, and try to really look at some well-rounded examples and sort of the historical perspective. I'm afraid to speak. Okay. Is this better? Okay, maybe I'll just try louder. Okay. I think that we've gotten used to the idea of saying Judeo-Christian world, and we understand a little bit about what the Abrahamic traditions are. Maybe we're less accustomed to thinking of Islam as a part of the Abrahamic family, so I want to give some examples today to show not only the specificity of Islam or Muslim women, but also to show a little bit like what the three traditions share. I'd like to go ahead and include Islam as much as possible in the larger Abrahamic tradition, so hopefully some of the comments I will make will resonate with all of you. I think in doing that, I think it's important to ask, what do we mean when we say Muslim world? And usually when I ask my students, where is the Muslim world? They say, we know it's over there. It's far away. It's where Arabs live. And they're usually surprised to learn that the Arab world, or Arabs, only really constitute about 20% of Muslims worldwide. Indonesia is actually the largest Muslim country, along with Malaysia. We have many different languages spoken in the Muslim world, and actually the Muslim world is right here. The United States is one of the most diverse Muslim sort of congregations, if you will. That's not to say that it's a cohesive group, because there are some ethnic groups that like to kind of stay with themselves, but as far as religious groups in the United States go, Muslims are the most diverse, which is kind of interesting. So when we think about the Muslim world, I think it's important to think about the United States as a Muslim country as well, with a growing number of believers. You might not think of China as part of the Muslim world, but 10% of the Chinese population is Muslim. Then we've got Central Asia, which is that part of the world we are not often taught about. This is kind of the inheritance of the Cold War. It's that Iron Curtain place. But in fact, behind the Iron Curtain, there are lots of different kinds of Muslim communities, and talk about Interfaith Dialog. That's one of the most interesting places, I think, in the world in terms of places where religions have commingled. So let me go ahead and start just talking a little bit about the Quran. I think that one thing that Islam definitely has in common with its older Abrahamic brothers and sisters is this privileging of women as mothers. While there might not be something as formalized as the preparation of challah and that sort of thing, women are definitely associated with the home, but it should be pointed out that the home is considered this refuge, it's this place where we are protected in this world. So it's not just the home where people are kind of locked up and separate from the world, but the home is this place where we gain spiritual and actually all sorts of nourishment, including food. Right? Food is very important, both for everyone, but in Judaism, the association with women and food is very important. So we have the Quran, which is the divine revealed text for Muslims. Then we also have the Hadith, of which there is a very interesting science, which I could talk about for probably, I don't know that even a semester would be enough for that, but let me not go there. But imagine that there were scholars, many scholars, collecting sayings of the Prophet Muhammad and going really way out of their way to collect what they assumed would be the most sahih, or true sayings, things that could really be attributed to him. Among those hadith, the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, he has a lot to say about women. It's quite interesting. He spent a lot of time speaking with his Sahabe, the companions who were learning about this new religion, and there was one of his companions said, "O Prophet, who is the person to whom we should listen the most? Whose advice should we seek the most?" And he said, "Your mother." And the companion said, "Well, okay, all right. After your mother, who else?" He said, "Your mother." And the companion said, "All right, okay, who else?" And the Prophet Muhammad said, "Your mother." He said it 3 times. He said, "All right, after your mother, then who?" And he said, "Okay, your father." But I think this is very significant. We really find so many examples in the Hadith where women were appreciated and sought after for advice and counsel on an array of subjects. I think it's also worth pointing out that according to Muslims, there are 99 names or attributes for Allah. The two most common that we see in the Quran, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the Beneficent, the Merciful, these are actually names that derive from the word for womb in Arabic. So this is what you would sort of say when you're starting to go on a trip, or when you're happy about the birth of a baby, or when you're reading the Quran, you would almost certainly utter those words almost every time.